Cannon Falls City Council meeting for Tuesday, September the 20th to order. Roll call.
Councilmember Berg.
Here.
Gallops.
Here.
Johnson.
Here.
Mattson.
Here.
Schoblum.
Here.
And Mayor Robinson.
Yep. All please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the last council meeting for September. We've got a pretty full agenda this evening, so we'll get things moving. Before I ask for approval of the agenda, I'd like to swap item 5 to item 6, make public input, item number 6, and number 6, item number 5, which will be council action, so that we can appoint another council member.
Approved.
And
Second.
at this time, with that change, I'll take a motion to approve the agenda.
So moved. Second.
Okay. Motion by Merle and second by Lynn. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carries. That moves us on to item 6 this evening, Resolution 2221, appointing a council member to fill a vacancy. All of you received the write-up in the background information on this. We're looking to fill the seat due to the resignation of Councilmember Holst. I've gone out and found a citizen that applied before when we had a vacancy, and she is still interested. She's been following the council. I'd like to introduce Cedar Abadi, or Abadi. Abadi. I'm getting close. She's an attorney, and she served as an officer on several state courts subject to regulated ethical standards. She's a professional who was held to strict fiduciary duties in the management of others' funds and information. Cedar's an executive advisor who will bring a notable level of accountability, efficiency, and transparency to the council. And with that, I would recommend to the council that we approve Cedar Abadi to the vacated seat from Rodney Holst.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Merle. Second by Kathy. Any other discussion? All's in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. So this time, I'm going to have City Administrator Ron Johnson give the oath of office to Cedar.
Raise your right hand, please. And state after me. I, and state your name,
I, Cedar Abadi,
do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States,
do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States,
the Constitution of the State of Minnesota,
the Constitution of the State of Minnesota,
and that I will faithfully and impartially discharge the duties
and that I will faithfully and
impartially
discharge the duties
of the office of City Council
of the office of City Council
of the City of Cannon Falls,
of the City of Cannon Falls,
to which I have been elected or appointed,
to which I have been appointed,
to the best of my knowledge and ability, so help me God.
to the best of my knowledge and ability, so help me God.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
And now you can come up here and sit with us.
In the big chair.
You're fine. Welcome.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here.
Okay, at this time, we will move on to item 6 this evening, which is public input. Citizens may speak to issues not on the agenda. Before speaking, please give your name and address for the minutes, and please limit your comments to 3 minutes. At this time, I know we have Lisa Bailey, who is running for House Seat 21A, I believe it is, and would like to address us.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, council members, and city staff. My name is Lisa Bailey, and I'm just here tonight to introduce myself to folks I haven't met already, I'm running for the Minnesota House of Representatives in our district. And just real briefly, I'm from Red Wing, and I am on the city council there. And so I've sat where you've sat for the last 8 years, and I've actually loved it. I've really enjoyed all the issues that we've worked on, and I'm excited to move on and apply some of the things that I've learned up at the district level. Just real quickly want to tell you that I've been out door knocking since May. I've been here in Cannon Falls quite a bit. Your citizens love your town, and they love being from here. But the thing that they're telling me, the number one thing they're telling me is go up to St. Paul. We don't even care necessarily what part you're from, just get some things done. They want to talk about lowering healthcare costs. They want to talk about getting our roads and bridges repaired and doing it in a planful, budgeted way so that we can plan year after year and city staff can plan for it, county staff. These are the kinds of things I want to work on, investing in our public schools. All of these things I'm hoping to do up in St. Paul. Quickly about myself, I'm an attorney. I have my own private practice in Red Wing. I used to be a prosecutor. I worked up actually for Amy Klobuchar. I was a criminal prosecutor in Minneapolis. Then moved down to Red Wing, and I worked in Wabasha at the county attorneys down there, and I worked as counsel to the county board. So if you take nothing else from this tonight, I want you to take that I know about and appreciate local government. I worked for the county, doing county stuff and going to every single county board meeting and seeing all the nuts and bolts, literally, of the issues that they're facing there. And then at the city, I've seen it. And I spent 2 years as council president, greatly enjoyed that. But what I saw was the impact that state decisions have on city and county government, and how the things that they're telling you to do, telling us to do without funding them, without input, that's the kind of thing that I want to really address. And so I want to go to St. Paul to be a strong advocate for our area. So that's all I have. And thank you for letting me be in your community. It's beautiful. People have been very welcoming, and look forward to representing you, hopefully, up in St. Paul. Thanks so much.
Thanks, Lisa. Is there anyone else wishing to address the council under public input? If not, we'll move on to item 7 on the agenda this evening, presentation by Officer Edwinson on Towards Zero Death presentation.
Well, Mr. Mayor, Council, a little point of clarification. I'm not going to be presenting tonight. You're going to have Jessica here with Goodhue County Health and Human Services. A little background, she contacted me. I'm the TZ coordinator for our city. So I facilitate the grant enforcement efforts. We have a budget of roughly about $5,000. So we have to put out extra officers on overtime shifts in our communities for seatbelt enforcement, drug driving enforcement, things like that. So next month, October, is seatbelt enforcement. So you'll see extra squad cars in our community. Squad cars from Kenyon, Zumbrota, and the surrounding areas, all working in our community to strive towards the saying, towards zero deaths. So without any further ado, I'll push it over to Jessica. She has a quick presentation. I'm the officer on duty tonight, so if I have to buzz out, that's why. I'm not just trying to flee from you guys, but from there, I'll give it to Jessica. Oh, jeez. Let's see if we can get this going for you.
Okay. Thank you. Good evening, Mayor Robinson, members of the City Council, and city staff. My name is Jessica Sade, and I'm the Community Health Specialist for Goodhue County Health and Human Services. And I'm also the Towards Zero Death, also known as TZD, Safe Roads Grant Coordinator. And today I'll be giving a presentation on TZD and also the 2015 Minnesota Crash Facts. Want me to do it? Okay. So what is TZD? The Towards Zero Death approach is based on the belief that even one traffic-related death on our roads is unacceptable. The TZD program team has identified several major focus areas for communities working to reduce traffic injuries and fatalities. The program recognizes that a combination of strategies from different focus areas is often most effective for solving a particular problem. The 4 E's represent education, enforcement, engineering, and emergency medical and trauma services. I represent the education component. Officer Edwinson represents the TZD enforcement component for the city of Cannon Falls. Within Goodhue County, we partner with 7 local law enforcement agencies. Those include Cannon Falls PD, Goodhue County Sheriff's Office, Goodhue PD, Kenyon PD, Minnesota State Patrol, Red Wing PD, and Zumbrota PD. Within Goodhue County, the TZD program consists of 2 different grants. The Safe Roads program, which I coordinate. Sorry, I had mentioned that already. The other grant is the TZD Enforcement Grant, which provides federal funds to law enforcement agencies to conduct enhanced traffic and enforcement, and I work on awareness projects and outreach. As you can see, the Minnesota traffic fatalities trend from 1995 to 2002 was on the rise. The Minnesota TZD program was formed in 2003 as a deliberate approach to counteract this trend. In 2003, 655 fatalities occurred on Minnesota roads. The orange side of this graph shows that trend. Now, if you look towards the right side of the graph, in 2014, despite increases in licensed drivers, registered motor vehicles, and vehicle miles traveled, there were 361 traffic fatalities in Minnesota in 2014, which is a 45% reduction from 2003. In 2014, deaths and serious injuries were at their lowest since World War II. Challenges remain, and unfortunately, 2015 was a tragic year on Minnesota roads. We saw an increase of roadway fatalities. 411 people lost their lives on Minnesota roads. 411 traffic fatalities also marks the most people killed on Minnesota roads since 2010. So for Minnesota traffic crashes in 2015, there were 74,000 traffic crashes that were reported to Minnesota Department of Public Safety. 138,000 motor vehicles and 181,000 people were involved in these crashes. 411 people died, as I mentioned, and 29,981 people were injured, at an estimated economic cost to Minnesota of $1,773,291,300. On an average day in 2015 on Minnesota roads, there were 205 crashes, 1 death, 82 injuries, at an estimated economic cost of $4,858,135. Some of the highlights from the Minnesota 2015 crash facts: that traffic fatalities increased, like I mentioned, since 2014. Safety belt use in Minnesota is 94%, and the fatality rate in Minnesota per 100 million vehicle miles traveled remains low. Every crash category was higher in 2015, including pedestrian, bicycle, and motorcycle crashes. In many categories, the number of deaths more than doubled. No, that's fine. Pedestrian fatalities increased. After reducing pedestrian fatalities to 17 in 2014, they shot back up to 41 in 2015. More than half of these deaths occurred in the 7-county metro area. In Goodhue County, we did have a serious injury involving a pedestrian. The Goodhue County 2015 crash facts: we had 7 crashes that involved fatalities, 204 crashes involving injuries, 491 crashes involving property damages, at a total crashes of 702. In 2015, we had 8 killed in 2015 and 293 injured. Cannon Falls 2015 crash facts: there were 0 crashes involving fatalities. We had 1 crash in 2014 involving a fatality. In 2015, we had 11 crashes involving injury. In 2014, we had 18 crashes involving injuries. In 2015, we had 36 crashes involving property damage. 2014, we had 51 crashes involving property damage. A total of 47 crashes in 2015 and a total of 70 crashes in 2014. Number killed, there was 0 in 2015. 2014, there was 2 killed, and total number injured in 2015, 14. In 2014, there were 28 in Cannon Falls. Another part of the TZD program is the Fatal Review Committee, and the goals of this committee is to identify contributing factors, make recommendations on how to prevent similar crashes in the future, and develop key messages to the public. Involved local and state law enforcement, local and state engineers, EMS, and TZD Safe Road Coordinator. The Goodhue County TZD Fatal Review Committee met on March 1st, and we reviewed crashes that involved fatals and serious injuries that occurred in the second half of 2015. We thoroughly reviewed 4 leading factors and recommendations on how to prevent future crashes. Of those crashes reviewed, the key messages were to wear your seatbelt. The majority, 5 of 7, were single vehicle involved crashes. Motorcycle crashes involved those without endorsements or appropriate training for their size motorcycle. alcohol or inattentive driving was a factor in the majority of crashes. And I do want to mention, many times when we think of distracted driving, we think of texting and driving in teenagers. Of those involving inattentive driving, we've actually had 2 serious injuries in Goodhue County that involved use of a GPS system and not actually texting and driving. So just wanted to point that out. Another major reason that that's a key message is many times when we talk about traffic safety in schools and or with the community, many people say it's the other people's driving behaviors and not their own. 5 out of 7 of our serious injuries and fatalities in Goodhue County were single vehicle, so that was not somebody else's doing to that vehicle. So important to mention. And then here are a few pictures from events that in Goodhue County TZD participated in within the community. In August, we participated in an event at the Goodhue County Fair. We also participated in the Guns vs. Hoses community event on September 11th. TZD has worked with local entities to provide education and awareness on work zone safety. With the construction happening throughout the county, such as in Wanamingo and Red Wing, we have provided information on the changes and stress-safe behaviors. We've had a strong presence within the schools this past year. We've worked directly with Pine Island, Goodhue, and Zumbrota. We're reaching out to other schools throughout this county in this upcoming school year. And our local law enforcement agencies have done great work within our communities, working on many high-visibility mobility campaigns, such as the Click It or Ticket, Drive Sober or Get Pulled Over, Speed Enforcement, Distracted Driving, and the Ted Foss Move Over Day. They have volunteered their time for many different events throughout the past year. Thank you, and that's my presentation.
Well, thanks, Jessica. We are glad that you came in and gave us a presentation. I know it's near and dear to a lot of people's hearts, safety. Nobody wants to be in an automobile accident, and anything we can do to help prevent it is always a good thing.
Thank you.
Okay. This time, we're going to move on to item 8 this evening, which is the consent agenda. Items on this area of the agenda may be adopted, or they may be removed and placed on the business area of the agenda for discussion purposes before approving. For the folks at home, I'll read the consent agenda. Item A is the just and correct claims for the accounting period ending September the 16th, 2016. Item B are the meeting minutes for the September 6, 2016 City Council meeting. Item C are the meeting minutes for the September 15th, 2016 City Council work session. Item D are the winery liquor license application. Item E is second reading and adoption of Ordinance 346 and summary of publication authorizing the sale of city-owned real property. Item F is the second reading and adoption of Ordinance 347 and summary of publication amending Chapter 152 of the Cannon Falls City Code, the zoning ordinance concerning the residential business district, the highway business district, and the rezoning property to B2. Item G is the winery fall festival alley closure. Item H is Resolution 2217, providing for Minnesota State Retirement System / Healthcare Savings Plan for MSRS HCSP for non-collective bargaining unit, non-department head employees. And item I is Resolution 2218, amending the personnel policy to approve Minnesota State Retirement System Healthcare Savings Plans for department heads. Are there any items anybody wishes to bring down?
D.
Okay, we'll bring item D down,
And H and I, please.
and H and I. Okay, D will become item 9C. Item H will become item 9D. And item I will become item 9E.
No, I don't want G.
Are there any other items anybody wishes to bring down? If not, Chair, take a motion to approve the consent agenda minus items D, H, and I.
So moved.
Okay, I have a motion by Merle, second by Morris. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Approved. All right, that moves us on to council business this evening. Item A will be Resolution 2219, $15,000 of general obligation bond, refunding bonds. And I'll bring up George Eilertson from Northland Securities.
Good evening, Mayor, members of the City Council. Good evening. In your packets, there was a finance plan as well as a resolution. And what I'll do is I'll hit the highlights from the finance plan. If you locate this document, I'll actually look at page 4 is a summary table.
You have it?
If everybody has,
I think it's probably what's on our computer. It's probably on
It's on the computer.
It's waiting, it's waiting to open.
oh,
our. Yeah.
all right, well, I'll intro here a little bit then. 2000, the two bonds that we'll review are the 2011 and 2013 bonds. Both were for street and utility improvement projects. And with a majority of the bonds that you issue, they have what's called the call date. That is the date when you could prepay or refinance on bonds. And Minnesota state law allows you to do what's called an advance refunding bond one time during the life of an issue, provided that you can achieve at least a 3% present value savings. Right now, we're in a market, municipal interest rates are quite favorable. We've been very near 40-year historic lows in the bond market. So my evenings are filled up with going to city council meetings talking about refinancing bonds. So what we're looking at is the city can consider the issuance of one advance refunding bond, one general obligation bond to refinance these two bonds. To hit the highlights then, on the 2011 bonds, the remaining average interest rate is 2.81%. On the 2013 bonds, it's 3.58%. We would keep the financing terms the same, meaning that the 11 bonds would still mature in 2032, and the 13 bonds 2 years later in 2034. The goal here is to lower the interest rate and lower the annual payment. So based upon the current market, we'd be looking at a blended average interest rate of about 1.6%. That would generate over the remaining term of the bonds about a $234,000 total net savings. That's net of any costs such as finance, legal, and bond rating fees. That would equal approximately $15,000 of annual debt service reduction for the city. Now, these are advance refunding bonds, so the savings begin after the call date. So the call date on the 2011s is in 19, and on the 13s, it's 1 year later in 20. So you begin saving on these after the call date. So it's on the 11s, you begin your reduction or debt service reduction. Your interest payment at the second, on August 1st of 19, is when you would begin to realize a lower debt service payment. And like I referenced about that minimum requirement the state has for 3% savings, that's the percentage you see at the very bottom of that page. The total blended is right around 5%. Tomorrow, as you may have heard, there's the Federal Open Market Committee is meeting. I think the consensus is they're not going to raise interest rates, but which they haven't done in some time. But it's really the language that comes out of that meeting which would provide kind of the direction for interest rates going forward. So this refunding, like I told your city administrator and assistant administrator ahead of the meeting, was this could look better following tomorrow, or it could look worse. So tonight's action, considering the resolution, would consider placing or having a bond sale on October 18th. So you're not selling bonds tonight, certainly. You're just calling for a sale to take place a month from now. If interest rates move higher and these savings basically evaporate or go significantly lower, we can certainly pull the refunding back, and there wouldn't be any charge passed along to the city. So we're hoping for the opposite, of course, that the market stays flat or the interest rates go a little bit lower and enhances your savings. So Mayor, members of the council, that's a quick overview. We'll We'll know more after tomorrow, and certainly if the market holds, so I'll be back October 18th.
Does anybody have any questions?
That's good.
Okay. I mean, looking at this, I mean, it's always good to try to save money for our citizens, and at this time, if there's no further discussion, I'll take a motion adopting the resolution authorizing the competitive negotiated sale of $4,015,000 in general obligation crossover refunding bond series 216B and approve the related municipal advisor agreement with Northland Securities Incorporated.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Merle. A second by Lynn. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carries. All right, that moves us on to the other fun part this evening, which is Resolution 2220, adopting the preliminary tax levy and budget collectible in 2017 and setting a public meeting date for adopting our final budget. For those folks at home, as we move forward, I just want to say that the levy we set tonight is only the preliminary levy. And as in the past, it'll most likely come down. The reason we have to set it at a higher rate at the preliminary levy is the fact that we can't go up once we set it, but we can go down. So whichever levy we set tonight, you'll probably see it on your proposed tax when you get that letter here in the next couple months. Everybody always gets excited. But like we said, the final levy and budget will be approved on December the 6th, so we'll have a few more work sessions between now and then before we adopt the final levy. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Johnson.
Thank you, Mayor, council members. What's in front of you tonight is a whole bunch of material, but the memo, the cover memo, I've tried to cover what are some of the highlights that we're looking at in this particular budget for 2017. Council has previously met in workshop sessions on August 16th and coming up, September 15th. And we have reduced the proposed levy increase down to 9.9%. That doesn't necessarily translate into a 9.9% increase in property taxes. The other factor that kicks into the increase in property taxes or property tax rate is actually the tax capacity, or kind of in essence the market value of the community. Put it in this cover memo, and I apologize, but for instance, what that means on a $100,000 home, for instance, the annual increase with that 9.9% levy with the resulting tax capacity would be $36 a year, or $3 a month. $200,000, you just double it, $72 a year, $6 a month. And as the mayor said, this is a levy that needs to be adopted, or the levy needs to be adopted prior to September 30th. And with the final levy and budget to be adopted before, I believe it's December 28th. And so there's two things that need to happen tonight. One is that we adopt the resolution for approving the levy increase, and then the second part of that resolution does set a date for December 6th at 6:30 to accept input into the 2017 budget. As the mayor said, the levy that is set tonight, we can reduce that, you can reduce that. We can't increase it in December, but you can reduce it however you see fit. And I see that historically we've had at least one workshop as a council prior to setting the final levy. We may even want a couple of them this year because we're a little higher than where we typically have been at this time of the year. So we may look at setting a couple of budget workshops prior to the final December 6th meeting.
And if everybody will realize, part of this budget at 9.9% has an 8.5% health insurance premium increase built in there. We don't know the actual premiums yet. I mean, I don't think they'll go over 8.5%, I hope, but usually they come in lower than that, so hopefully that'll help. And there are a few other things in there that we can look at doing. So, I mean, just health insurance alone, if it comes in lower, we'll lower that levy quite a bit.
And, yeah, and that's information that we've gotten from our broker, our insurance broker, and a couple other things that are included in that cover memo are, this budget includes a half-time employee for, to cover planning commission responsibilities, and then start working on the other things that we've had outstanding, such as the zoning ordinance update. We've had that on the slate for quite some time. I guess that was on the slate to be updated before I even started here. And then with the economic activity that's going on, and the positioning that we're at right now for growth, the other items that we really need to look at is development along Highway 52 or land use planning. Our comprehensive plan needs updating. And so and then plus the planning commission duties, and that's where we would see this individual assisting in that area. From the budget workshop of last week, based on what I heard at council level from you folks, was we did drop the COLA, the cost of living for wages, from 3% down to 2%. And then to allow time for discussion on other potential cuts, what we've included, as we did last year, actually, when we adopted the final levy, was some dollars from existing reserves. Last year, I believe, I don't have the figure right in front of me, but I think we used approximately $26,000 or $29,000 of reserves. I do have it here. $29,325. What we're putting out there to keep this levy at 9.9% is $38,300 of prior year's cash or reserves, in essence. And of course, that amount can be whittled down as discussions take place prior to December 6th.
I think it's also important to point out that we have bonds that we are obligated to that are set at, correct me if I'm wrong, Linnell, 5.85? Yes. That no matter what we do, that's already in this levy budget.
Right.
So no matter what we do, we have that obligation as a city to meet. So if you take that in consideration, then the overall budget increase isn't as terrible as it looks.
Any further discussion? If not, the chair will take a motion to adopt resolution 2220, adopting the primary levy and budget collectible in 2017 and setting the public meeting date for December 6th.
So moved.
Second?
Motion by Merle, second by Lynn. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carries. That moves us on to item 9C this evening, which is winery liquor license application.
I got a questions on this. The alley goes right past where they want to be. What are they going to do? You know, because they want to have tables on the west side. What's
So
going on?
what it'll be is the similar to what they do on the sidewalk. So they have that barrier that kind of goes along the sidewalk. That's just going to extend right around that west side of their building to be a patio area.
But see, the sidewalk is a little different than what this is. I mean, you've got cars now, it's going to be right there. I mean, granted, the other cars park. I don't like it.
That area is gonna be blocked off. You're not gonna be able to park
Yeah.
it.
I was just gonna say, are they gonna
There-
park
No,
cars there
The
no,
whole
still?
thing's gonna be blocked off there.
No.
The only cars will be the ones on the road, on Mill
On
Street.
the,
There
no,
will not
they-
be, there will not be any cars along the side of the building.
no, but, no, I know, but you still got the alley traffic. And that's a little bit different than what it would be on the curb.
Aren't
you
they
got-
closing the alley traffic?
Yeah, you're not gonna be able to go through the parking
my
lot all the way to the
understanding.
other side. That's gonna be blocked
No,
off.
As far-
that's for the festival, not this.
The festival is separate, yep.
That's
What we're
a
talking
separate
about
thing.
here is.
Yeah, that they're gonna
them
block everything.
Using that area to the west of their building as a patio.
Right.
But would
So yes, it would depend on how far, what buffer they would want to use for that type of protection, if I understand you right, Morris. So
flash.
that's something that wasn't clarified by them, simply as kind of the same thing that they're doing along the sidewalk, extending that to the west side of the building, so.
Are they gonna remove their parking from there?
It would have to.
That would be what I would guess they would do, you know, no different than the sidewalk. On the certain days that they want to extend out, they will. On days they don't need it, it would probably be used as the parking.
How much, Dave, how much of that area where they have parking along the side of the building is winery property? Do you remember?
There's about 24 feet plus or minus. And I think part of it too is that the original license is defined to include the building only. The premises of the liquor sales are the building only. And the additional land to the west, the 24, 25 feet, was not originally included in that.
And that's what this
So
is.
as my understanding is that the reason that they're doing this at this point is because of the festival. And whether they have other events there in the future on that 24 feet, I don't know. But the original license that was issued to the winery was for the premises, the building only. So I think in order to allow them to get to the festival, which would include the property, to the west that the EDA owns that we talked about, to get there, they need to go from the building, the west end of the building, across their property, and then for the festival purposes, across the alley and into the EDA property.
Yeah, but the festival's a different thing. They're shutting down the alley and that. Now, this is something, I think the way it sounds, it's gonna be all the time, not all the time, but quite a bit. And they're not gonna be shutting down the alley.
My understanding
See,
is still.
so I'm looking at this and saying no, because, and it's also taking away parking. There's not enough parking in the first place.
My understanding, Morris, is to allow the festival, which has always been kind of the reason for this whole change in the licensing, to allow the festival to get the additional land area, including the EDA and the alley portion, which will be cordoned off for the festival. To get there, it needed to be contiguous, and to be contiguous, since the original 24, 25 feet was never included in the original on-premise license, that has to go hand in hand with this. I don't know of any other events that have been at least talked to me about, other than the October
But,
event.
okay, they got the festival on here and that. They can always come like everybody else every year and do it. I can't see them having this personally. I think it's a nightmare. How are they going to direct the traffic off and, to make sure it's just a blank sheet of paper as far as I'm concerned.
I think, Joe, we can certainly clarify that with the winery, but that has not been my understanding, that they're looking at having other events on that bare land.
That's my understanding also. It's
right. But
pretty much
but-
comes down to how they use the sidewalk at this time.
It
It's
might
just
be, but I
extending
still
that.
say they can, if it's a 1 year, a one thing a year, just like people want the streets blocked off or something for, some festival or something.
But-
Hey, you come here and you get it.
But, I can see where they're getting at, because their sidewalk right now is full when they have a full weekend. And if they want to move it around the corner,
Right.
if there was some parameters that it had to be a certain distance between the actual alleyway, it's plotted that. And this, right now, their sidewalk does not take up that much space. And if they
No.
did the same parameters as they did with the sidewalk, I don't see that as being an issue.
Well,
I would also want to
Because it's all roped off. Yeah, and it would have to be, yeah.
well, roped
Day-
off, no. If they're
daytime,
gonna
well,
have
maybe
traffic
not
going right
nighttime.
by the side, they better have more than rope. because of all the cars, so how they're parked and everything too, and then coming out
They'd have
the
to stay
alley.
so many feet
It
from the
isn't
alley
good.
Anyway, wouldn't they?
Yeah, because the sidewalk permit that they have, called by memory, I believe they've got to have a minimum of 3 feet of open area. And I think we have a 10-foot sidewalk there. It's wider there on Mill Street. I don't remember if it's 3 feet or 5 feet that they've got to have as clear area on the sidewalk. So if you look at where they cordon off on the sidewalk, they don't come all the way out to the curb. They don't come in within a foot or two of the curb. There has to be a minimum area there where pedestrians can pass by. So if they were going to do something on the west side of the building, it would seem to suggest that there would also have to be a similar separation from the alley, if you will, back to the east towards their wall, if they're going to do that. But again, I don't have any,
Right.
no one has suggested to me from the winery that that's their intent for the use of that beyond, in order to facilitate the event in October,
Well, I think we should find out more information.
right? We
I
can
mean,
certainly do that.
we're just giving them whatever, and I don't think that's.
And we would have
that's-
time before their festival.
No,
make
we're
that
gonna
a-
vote on the festival.
Right,
Right.
festivals.
But
Well,
the
I mean,
festival
for
is
the
separate.
liquor license, it's separate.
Yeah,
Is a
Right,
separate
right.
issue, so, you know, if the festival, which is at the end of October, we still have a council meeting to bring
Right.
it forth in front of the council meeting again.
I really do think this is a
Declare Friday.
licensing issue, not city license. I think it's the wine license itself issued by the state. I think that's where it gets back to the premises, but we can confirm that with talking with the winery.
Yeah, but I mean, because, I mean, it talks
Yeah.
about a liquor license is different than their agricultural wine license.
well,
so-
yeah.
So, I mean, I think we need to get some clarification on that.
Are we allowed to sort of direct the winery to develop a sketch, if you will, with some measurements maybe, which would inform this decision rather than us all repeating and guesstimating based on our memories?
Well, we don't have any easements along that alleyway, right, Dave, that would,
No, it's a
'cause
city-owned.
how the sidewalk is, you know, that's city, but they've obtained that agreement to use that, where when we get into their own property, if we don't have anything like that, we
not a
really
public
can't.
sidewalk.
We can't
Correct.
restrict it
Right.
where their parking area currently is now to make that a patio. So,
But it's
short
still,
answer is no.
We can ask for a diagram. I'm not saying they have to commit to something, but
And
what is
what-
their proposal?
yeah, what are they proposing to do with it? I mean,
Right.
are they gonna put, what kind of barricades or whatever to make sure people are safe?
Yeah, as
You know.
far as what they would use, I
Right,
would
I mean-
imagine it would be the same thing, but could
But
they
a ro-
change
if
their
it's a
mind
rope
on
or
that?
something,
But it would
that's
be
not
nice to
good.
not have any assumptions.
Right, let's
Yep.
get them to say.
Right,
Yeah.
I would agree.
So, do we
So
want to
that
table
would
this?
go- Yeah,
I would-
that would go back to Dave, or who brings that back to
We'll
them?
go back, Joe and Jeff.
Yep,
and I'll
we
go
will.
back to winery and.
Yeah,
that's all.
thank you.
So, item 9C, the winery liquor license is being tabled till next meeting.
And that will give them enough time to do what they need to do before the festival,
Well,
right?
Hopefully.
Okay, I hope so.
Okay.
Mayor, did we have a motion on the tabling?
Yeah.
I'll make a
So moved.
motion.
Motion by Merle,
Second.
second by Morris, to table the winery liquor license until we get some more information.
All in favor?
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That's good.
I know.
All right, that moves us on to item HD, which, or item D, which is going to be Resolution 2217.
And I brought that down, and we can discuss both of them at the same time, because I know they're both very similar. But just because insurance and benefits and everything is such a big issue in today's world, that I think for public information, it'd be informative to know what all of this is all about, because it can be very confusing. So that's the only reason why I brought it down. And I know we talked about it at the Personnel Committee and reviewed it, but not everybody else has been privileged to that information.
So, all right, well, anyway, the Personnel Committee.
So what's the
Back
start?
in June of 2015, this council approved the state retirement system healthcare savings plan for the International Union of Operating Engineers, Local 49, IOE bargaining unit. And approving this plan is a HCSP in an individual tax account to be used for reimbursement of eligible post-employment medical expenses. 3 other groups have been considering an adoption of a plan, those covered in the Law Enforcement Labor Services Bargaining Unit, Non-Collective Bargaining Unit for non-department head employees, and department head group, which is one of the other items that were brought down. So basically what we're saying is that with the Personnel Committee is to allow for when a person leaves employment that part of their, where to go here?
Separation.
Part of the separation, so it goes, is a reimbursement for medical expenses. So what happens is their sick leave or vacation would go into an healthcare savings plan. Instead of paying it all out to the individual, part of it would go to the healthcare savings plan, the other part of it would go to the individual. We would have to pay it out anyway. So,
It's an additional benefit to the employees, but also,
right, and under the department head resolution, what that does, we're thinking in the future, because most of your department heads, when they come here, they've been in government for quite a while or in business for quite a while. They're senior type employees. It'll be a good recruiting tool that they know that might be available to them. So it was another reason that we looked at approving this and changing it.
thank you. I just think the public needs to have an explanation.
Okay. Anybody else got any other questions on item 9D, which is the resolution 2217 for the non-union, non-collective bargaining unit employees? If not, Chair will take a motion to approve resolution 2217.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Lynn, second by Merle. Any further discussion? All's in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And if there's no further discussion, Chair will take a motion to approve Resolution 2218 to amend the personnel policy to approve Minnesota State Retirement System Healthcare Savings Plan for department heads.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Merle, second by Lynn. Any further discussion? All's in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carries. That moves us on. Before we go to reports, I'd just like to say on the budget, thanks to the department heads, all the city staff, for all your hard work and getting us to this point. We know we still got a little bit more work to do between now and December when we pass the final budget. But I just want to say, appreciate all the hard work. I know what goes into it, and it's it's not always fun, so thanks. And we'll go into reports. Mr. Maroney.
None for me, thank you.
Just a brief update on the West Side project. As of this Friday, all the sodding will be done, the tree restoration will be done, and October 4th is slated for the final lift of blacktop. So even though they were affected by the rains, they're still on schedule for October 4th completion, other than the punch list items.
Thanks.
On September 9th, the ambulance got notification that we were awarded money through the Assistance Firefighters Grant. We were able to apply because we were a non-affiliated department. And the total award was $27,600. We were partially funded. And I just wanted to let you guys know that our share of that's only 5%, so $1,380. So we're getting a pretty good bang. We're going to get some new equipment, which we desperately need. We're going to be replacing some coats and some pants that are like 18 years old. So staff is pretty excited about that. And several people made it happen. Jeremy Mao had reviewed my narratives and helped me beef them up a little bit. I had to get Congressman Klein's office involved. Mayor Robinson also helped me get in touch with Chuck from Klobuchar's office. Chief McCormick, Ron Johnson, Linnell all had big parts in helping us get this done. So it's a team effort, and I thank everybody.
Nothing.
Nothing from the library? It's awful quiet over there.
Reading a book.
Okay.
Earlier this evening, you heard about the TZD program. In layman's terms, that's why you see departments from Red Wing and the county, Kenyans, and Broda in town, and a lot of traffic stops made. And you can see the statistics that have come to that. I mean, for us to have a 0 is a great thing. And that's something that we want to carry on. It's a program that's been working and something we'll continue with. So thank you to Officer Edwinson and Jessica from the county for their time that they put into that grant. Sounds like we have some rain coming. The river, although it is a little higher than normal, it depends on what falls. We do have a large area, and definitely if we get the large amounts, we will definitely be watching the river. So that's all I got.
Yeah, I saw where they're predicting this one could be like in 2010. That's what they were, the Weather Service says it's historically looking like it right now, so hopefully not. And with the TZD, I can remember going over to Kenyon one afternoon for, when I was doing outreach for the county, and all of a sudden I see a Cannon Falls police car. I said, what the heck's a Cannon Falls police car doing way the heck over here? Then I remembered TZD was going on. So I know it happens all over the county because we see our cars and everybody else's cars in different locations. So it's important to be safe on the roads.
Recall, we made application for the Legacy Grant for the design of the 3rd Street Historical Bridge, and we're still in that process. Goodhue County Engineer Greg Isaacson and I are going up to the Minnesota Historical Society building Thursday to give a 3-minute presentation to the committee that is reviewing applications. But you recall our application, the value of it was about, I think it was about $175,000. And the funding of the bridge is already, it's kind of a strange process why they're looking at why we need to apply for the application for the design when the federal funding is already available for it. So we'll give our 3-minute pitch sometime Thursday afternoon at an unbeknownst time. And we'll see what happens. I'm not sure what the time frame is after that, but we'll keep plugging away on it. There will be, as the meeting schedule has a Public Works meeting or commission meeting on October 4th. That will not be held, correct, Tom? No, okay. I will be at the International City County Managers Association in Kansas City Friday through Wednesday. I'll be back in the office on Thursday. Staff knows that my cell phone is able to ring and I will actually answer it. I think that is all. Oh, with the 3rd Street Bridge too, you've noticed that there's barricades, fencing, etc. up. They have been, Goodhue County did the inspection on it as they do every year. There are some stringers, outside stringers that are in tough shape, and we'll ultimately end up doing some quick repair on that. Greg estimates probably to the tune of about $6,000 that we're going to need to pick up the cost of that, but hopefully it'll be a moot point after in a few years when we have a new bridge, new rehab bridge. That's all I have.
Merle?
Nothing.
Cedar?
I just want to commend Tom. I know he sent out and he's been in contact with the tree cutters in our community. And I just wanted to thank him for doing that. And I think they were listening because we're in my neighborhood, and even though there are a couple trees that look terrible, the rest look pretty good, so.
The XL Forester did advise me to tell all property owners if you're not happy with your tree and like it down completely, they will come back and take it
Okay.
down if it's that
'Cause I know
unsightly.
there's a couple trees that they pretty much just cut right down in half, and I was glad that I was proactive and had somebody else come and cut my tree by the wire before they came, so. But I do know that you contacted them, and I appreciate that.
Nothing.
Okay.
they gonna be doing that on the West Side project, a final walk around to make sure that everything's kosher? Cause they, when they were doing the final grade before the sod this last couple weeks, on my sidewalk personally, they chipped the corner of the sidewalk off.
Yep, there'll be a final walkthrough with punch list items to repair, replace, fix, whatever they have to do.
Right.
Sometimes it'll come back as a cost reduction. You know, it's not cost effective to tear out a chunk of sidewalk. They will give us a reduction off the bill. So, yeah, that will be done.
All right.
The roundabouts, the signs, we got signs coming?
We're in conversation with a sign manufacturer in the Twin Cities that does the signs for Goodhue County, and in conversations with Greg Isaacson, we told him we would try to spec out a sign that kind of meets the narrative that the Chamber Board has recommended to us, see what size fits on both the east and west roundabouts, and get a cost estimate, you know, for those particular signs. So it's in process.
So it'll say like east.
Yep, East Business District, West Business District, yep. And those would be on the easternmost and westernmost roundabouts.
That'd be great. That's it.
And I think I've spoken enough tonight, so at this time, Chair will take a motion to adjourn.
So moved.